Liwei scanned him from head to toe, his piercing gaze narrowing with a sharp edge before it fell back on him as he asked who he was. Wubin, not the type to falter under anyone's stare, intensified his own gaze on him and replied that he was the one who had knocked on his hotel door, so he should be the one asking who Liwei was. Liwei stepped closer, his voice low but laced with steel, telling him that he was there to get his woman and that Kai had sent him the location, that she was inside and he had come to take her. But Wubin moved into his way, blocking him deliberately, shutting the door behind him as he stood there like a wall between Liwei and what he wanted. The air between them grew thick with tension. Liwei leaned forward, asking if he had a problem with him, and Wubin, unbothered, shot back that it seemed like Liwei was the one with the problem, giving him that death stare earlier and now acting like he owned the place, questioning who was provoking who. Liwei let out a short, humorless laugh, amused by his audacity, but kept his voice calm. He said he wasn't here for this nonsense. He was here to get his woman, and whatever issue Wubin thought they had could be addressed another time, because right now he didn't have the time to waste. He tried to approach the door again, but Wubin blocked his way once more. Liwei's frustration deepened as he asked if he was doing this intentionally, provoking him on purpose, because first he had seen him daring enough to touch his woman, and now he was preventing him from taking her away. Wubin laughed, keeping his eyes steady on him, and with that calm arrogance told him that he didn't see a ring on her finger, so he had no right to act like he owned her. No right to rage every time another man got close. If he wanted to claim her fully, then he should mark her the proper way, with a ring, because as long as she wasn't bound like that, Wubin himself had every right to try his luck. The words burned like fuel to Liwei's anger, and though the urge to strike him surged strong, he controlled himself, his jaw tightening as he shoved the door open with force and walked inside, refusing to waste another word. Amara's eyes lifted to him as he entered, her body still rigid with anger, her face turned away, determined not to speak. Kai stood there, eyebrows raised, demanding to know what was going on, pressing Liwei to explain who the girl was that he had hidden away with, who he had touched. Liwei didn't answer him. His gaze was fixed only on Amara as he told her to come with him, saying he was there to take her home. Amara, still bitter and still hurt, turned her face away and told him flatly that she wasn't going anywhere, that he could go back to the girl with the handcuffs if he wanted company. Kai laughed, clearly entertained by the fire in her words, watching her jealousy spill out, while Liwei moved closer, voice low and strained, telling her that it wasn't what she thought, and that he would explain everything once they were home. But Amara refused to budge, refusing to look at him, repeating that he should leave her, that he should go back to the other girl. Kai laughed again, leaning in, telling Liwei maybe he should just leave her behind and that he, as a gentleman, would take very good care of her. Liwei's gaze turned razor-sharp, cutting into him, but he said nothing, looking back at Amara instead, insisting once more that they go. When she still didn't move, he didn't waste another second. He leaned down, scooped her into his arms, and carried her out despite her struggling, despite her fists beating against his chest as she demanded to be put down. His grip was unshakable, his expression set as he ignored her protests, walking out with her securely in his arms. Behind him, Kai laughed, shaking his head, telling Wubin that he had never seen a funnier couple in his life, that he used to think he was the only one who knew how to get under Liwei's skin, but clearly Amara had mastered that too. Perhaps they really were the perfect match, because no one else could drive him that crazy. Liwei made his way into the house with Amara still in his arms. He slowly placed her down, his movements deliberate, measured, as if any sudden motion might shatter the fragile tension in the room. Before he could say anything, she darted toward the bedroom, her anger still simmering just beneath the surface. Liwei stood for a moment at the threshold, drawing a deep breath, searching for the right words to explain everything in a way that wouldn't push her further away. Meanwhile, Amara stormed into the room, her mind haunted by the image of Liwei with another woman, his hands on her, the memory intensified by the fact that it was the same girl he had been with before. She paused only briefly, then lunged for the closet, yanking open her suitcase and shoving clothes into it with a furious energy, each motion sharp and determined. Liwei stepped in and paused at the entrance, watching her pack. He stood silently, taking in every frantic movement, every tug of frustration, and he asked her if she was really doing this, if she wouldn't even listen to his explanation, if she wouldn't hear him out. Amara remained silent, continuing to pack, relentless in her determination. Liwei's lips curved into a faint, amused smile. Her protests, her fire, were oddly cute. To put fuel to the fire, he pointed out things she might forget: her charger, her toothbrush, her medicine, the books she loved to read, his voice calm, steady, yet laced with an invisible care, as he told her that she shouldn't forget to pack all those as well. Amara stopped zipping her suitcase halfway, her eyes narrowing as she studied him. Seeing how unbothered he seemed, even standing there helping her pack, she told him in no uncertain terms that she was not joking. She was leaving, going back to campus, finally letting him be free to be with the girl he had been with earlier. Liwei's hands rested in his pockets, his posture relaxed, his gaze unwavering. He told her that if she wasn't going to allow him to explain, if she refused to hear his side, then he could let her go. It seemed she had already jumped to conclusions, and he had no desire to stop her. He moved aside, allowing her a path to the door, and sat on the bed, his posture calm but commanding. Amara grabbed her suitcase and began to leave. Liwei's eyes followed her with quiet amusement. He counted 1, then paused, 2, then paused again, 3, before his gaze landed on the door. She was returning, suitcase still in hand, standing there, her frustration and confusion clear. She asked why the door wouldn't unlock, why the pin had been changed. Liwei's eyes held hers, steady, unwavering. He told her that she had forgotten the promise they had made, no matter how much they fought. No one left until they had fixed things. Even if they stayed in the same room in silence, they would stay. No one would walk away. His gaze pinned her in place as he told her he was keeping that promise. She would stay, she would listen, and he would wait until she had calmed enough for him to speak. Amara's breath hitched as she processed his words, realizing he was right. He observed her closely, noting the subtle easing of her tension, the way her posture softened. His voice broke the silence, gentle yet commanding. He told her to come to him. "Come here," he said. His piercing gaze locked on her, the kind that made her weak, the kind that made her lose control without even realizing it. She looked away, unwilling to yield, to give in that easily. Liwei called her babe, asking her again to come closer. She hesitated, stubbornness and embarrassment holding her in place. He tried again, this time calling her my princess, his voice soft yet firm, compelling. At those words, her body betrayed her. Her cheeks warmed as she struggled to maintain composure, but her slow, deliberate steps toward him told the truth of her surrender. Her eyes stayed locked on his, drawn to him like gravity. She placed her suitcase down, moving closer, step by tentative step. Liwei watched, patient, waiting for her, until she was almost within reach. Then, with a swift movement, he rose, closing the gap, pulling her into his arms, seating her on his lap as he sank back onto the bed. He held her tightly, a silent promise, his eyes never leaving hers, grounding her, tethering her, keeping her in place as he had always done. Still keeping his eyes on her, Liwei softly asked if she had calmed down now, if she was willing to listen to what he had to say, his side of the story. Amara looked at him and nodded, and his expression shifted as he reminded her that he had told her before she was the only woman he would touch and be close to, that his eyes were meant for her and no other. He explained that indeed, the girl she had seen was the same one from his past, and even he had been surprised to see her, since after their encounter he had never kept in contact. He continued, telling her that the girl knew he didn't want anything to do with her. That was why she had drugged him to make him act the way he did, and that he hadn't intentionally touched her. His body had simply reacted to the drug. Amara's eyes widened at that revelation. Liwei stretched out his hand, showing her the cut on his palm, explaining that he had intentionally cut himself just to bring himself back to his senses, proving how badly he didn't want any other girl near him. He added that he had intended to find her and explain, but something urgent about his mission had come up, and he had to go. His gaze bore into hers, piercing, asking if she believed him. Amara nodded, her fingers brushing his palm as she looked at the cut and then back at him, telling him he didn't have to hurt himself that way. Liwei's eyes never left hers, and he softly said it was the only way he could regain control, that all he could think about in that moment was her. He reached out, gently touching her face, looking deep into her eyes, and apologized for making her feel that way, admitting he could have controlled himself better, that the sight of her hurt when she saw them had wounded him as well. Amara gave a small smile and lightly touched his face, telling him it was okay, that it wasn't him. It was the drug. She apologized for being dramatic and jumping to conclusions. Liwei laughed softly, and Amara looked at him curiously, asking why he was laughing. He leaned closer, telling her he liked that fiery side of her, the side that spoke for herself and stood her ground, unafraid of anyone because it assured him that she won't let herself be easily bullied. He added that he found her utterly cute, recalling how funny it had been watching her pack her bags. Amara shyly covered her face, muttering that she was really going to leave. Liwei chuckled, leaning in and gently removing her hands from her face, assuring her she wasn't going anywhere. If she tried, he would bring her back. Still keeping his eyes on her, he offered to help unpack her suitcase. Amara nodded, but said she wanted to do something first. Liwei tilted his head, curious, before she moved closer, pressing her lips to his neck. He held her firmly, feeling the intensity radiating through his body, and she looked back at him, whispering that she was marking him so the other girl would know he was taken. Liwei stared, stunned, surprised that she had just stolen his move. Before he could react, she leaned in again, pressing her lips to him, and this time he weakened under her touch as he slowly felt himself lose control. She giggled, but he leaned in, whispering that she was turning him on. His breath still heavy, he teased that she might make him break the promise he made to Master Shen not to get intimate until his mission was done. Amara continued, smiling mischievously, telling him now he was marked. But she didn't realize she had already ignited a fire in him, a thirst he needed to quench. Before she could step back, he scooped her up and placed her back on his lap and kissed her passionately. His eyes locked on hers as he laid her on the bed. She felt the intensity radiating from him, her heart pounding, and when she asked what he was doing, his voice was low, almost a whisper, telling her he was only finishing what she had started. Slowly, he guided her hand down to him, letting her feel his hardness. She hesitated, her pulse racing, but she let him. He watched her eyes, his gaze consuming, and whispered gently yet firmly that what she felt just now happened every time he thought of her, that a single touch from her had the power to make him this weak. Amara saw it. The vulnerability in him, the raw need radiating from his body, and whispered an apology for making him feel that way. Liwei laughed softly, realizing how innocent and naive she could be, telling her not to apologize, that it was his body responding naturally to her. Leaning closer, he murmured that he wanted her to feel what she did to him, and that when he tells her to stop, she should, because otherwise he might break his promise and claim her fully until she begged him to stop and make her legs shake uncontrollably. Her heart raced at his words, anticipation and desire mingling. Finally, as the tension eased slightly within him, he pulled her up from the bed, telling her they should unpack her stuff and go shower. Amara nodded, and together they returned to her luggage, him teasing her as he called her his crazy princess, a soft laugh escaping as they put her belongings back, the air still thick with unspoken desire and simmering intimacy.